So you're planning to buy your new CPU, but you don't know how many cores do you need for your work scenario. Well, then my friend, you landed on the right video, because in this video I'm going to talk about how many cores you need for your CPU. Hey guys, this is Akash and I make daily tech content similar like this. So if you find it interesting, don't forget to subscribe. So this is an ongoing series on my channel where I explain some of the complex topic in computing and explain it in a simple, easy, fun, entertaining way. And I already made 2 videos about how a CPU works and what CPU cores are. You can check both of those videos right here. Now let's talk about how many CPU cores you need. But this is a disclaimer. I'm not gonna talk about any specific CPU, or I'm not gonna recommend you any specific CPU in this video. I'm gonna talk about some of the basic general things that you need to look for depending on your work case scenario when you are buying your new CPU. Now let's talk about the first group of people, the general computer users, like watching media, browsing the internet, doing your homework, or using corporate like office suite workflow like Excel, Word, PowerPoint. For all of these purpose, and if you don't plan to play high fidelity or high end games, then few years back or even right now some people will suggest you get a 2-core CPU, but I don't suggest you. Don't do that. The reason is pretty simple. Look, 2-core CPUs for those kind of tasks would be enough, because there are a bunch of cheap good options. AMD's Athlon series, then Intel's Pentium. But the reason why I'm saying no, you have to understand this. Just go back few years ago. Like, just think that you are in 2011 and you bought a new dual-core CPU. You still have that dual-core CPU in your PC. Now, you want to run the 2020 version of Microsoft Office. Your experience wasn't going to be that much good, but when you first bought that CPU, the experience was pretty good, because not only Microsoft or every single application in that case are gone much more complex and feature rich, but also they have gone much more visually appealing, and that takes a little bit CPU power, and sometimes a little bit can make a huge difference. So honestly, that is the one of the biggest reason that I generally don't suggest people right now go and get a 2-core CPU. At least I get a 4-core CPU. There are a bunch of cheap good options like the AMD 3100 or Intel's i3-10100. That's a seriously great cheap options, and at the same time you also would have the peace of mind that even someday you decide to play games, well, you have 2 extra cores for your extra horsepower, so you don't bottleneck your new GPU. Now, talking about GPUs, let's talk about our gaming folks. So you have right now a bunch of options to pick from, whether it's Intel or AMD, but I would suggest you to wait and see what AMD brings out with their 5000 generation CPU. But a general guideline would be for you, 4-core CPUs were good enough. But as I said on the general computing task, let's think a little bit about future proofing. And why not get a 6-core CPUs? They aren't that much cheap right now, and in some games you might need more than 4 cores, and an example is Call of Duty Modern Warfare, or specifically the Call of Duty Warzone version of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare, I mean the Battle Royale. Okay, so in that game, sometime having a better CPU can result on a better performance. Not your better performance, but better frame rates. Your performance depends on your skill, and that's on you. I'm not judging you about your skills. Now, if you want to show off your gaming skill in Twitch or YouTube, then I would suggest you get a CPU which has simultaneous multi-threading, a fancier word for hyper-threading or multi-threading. Now, what that simultaneous multi-threading is, well, that's a topic for another day, but right now know this, that it will definitely help you for a smooth stream, and also having more cores doesn't hurt for streaming. But I would suggest you, if you are just gonna game on your CPU or your PC, get a 6-core CPU, it would be fine. Now let's talk about my favorite group of people who not only loves to play hard but also know how to work hard. The guys and gals who use Premiere or DaVinci for their creative videos, or the folks who does 3D modeling animation with Maya, Blender, Houdini. What's the option for them? Well, for them, it's a simple and easy answer. More cores will work better for you. Target a CPU which has more than 8 cores. 16 cores and above won't hurt you, but then I'm talking about prosumer level stuff. Like after I reach like past the 10 core mark, it will go to the prosumer mark. I think that even though AMD sells their 16 core CPU as a consumer level CPU Ryzen 9, but I think it's in the territory of the Threadripper prosumer level CPUs. And now let's talk about those people who push their computers to their limits, like take them to their knees. Well, for you guys, go the most that the market offers. Get a 64 core Threadripper CPU, pair it with 512 gigabytes of RAM, like use all SSD on a RAID 0. Yeah, get two RTX 3090, pair it with SLI, do whatever you want to do. Because if you are getting a 64 core CPU, I think 512 gigabytes of RAM, SSD, and two 3090 won't be like expensive for you. Or I don't know. Who am I to judge your financial condition? But here's a thing. CPU cores and CPU clocks doesn't tell you the full story. It's a piece of the puzzle. There are a bunch of things that you need to look for when you are buying a CPU, like the TDP or the IPC. But at the same time, the IPC, the 3DP, those are a little bit broad topic, and I think this video already I stretched it too long. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you don't, leave it a dislike. Although remember, it hurts, but man, at the end of the day, if you want to dislike, go ahead, do it. But remember, it hurts. And if you want to watch more videos from us, check out this video right here. And if you want to subscribe, which I definitely suggest and appreciate if you do that, well, do it by here. And this is Akash, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.